everyone, welcome back to my channel, Cooking Vegan with Kim. So today I'm actually in the studio, guys, because I just wanted to take this moment to just sit down and talk to you all about my journey as the reason why I started to become a vegan, how it has changed my life for the better, how my health has improved with being vegan. So yeah, stay tuned. I decided to become vegan because of my health. I know a lot of people start for various reasons. A lot of people, that are vegan don't like how animals are being treated, the slaughter of different types of animals, and, all human life or animals, they all have life. But for me, my reason was because of my health. I was going through a lot of health issues at that time. I was dealing with, various cancer cells that was going on inside of my body. I had an irregular menstrual cycle. My skin was just, breaking out very badly. And I know that I had needed to make a change in my life. But at that particular time, I just didn't know what the change was going to be. So the turning point in my life where I said that today was because I just got tired of feeling the way that I was feeling. I didn't realize, how heavy I was getting at that particular time. I was weighing like 209 pounds. And I knew that I was having these health issues that was going on inside of me. But at the same time, it was like I just kept telling myself that, oh, I'm okay, everything is okay. But deep down inside, it wasn't. I was dying on the inside. And it was like a moment where I just kind of woke up and took a look at myself in the mirror and was like, Kim, what are you doing? You really, really need to make a change in yourself, and because you want to be around for your kids, you want to be around for your kids, you want to be around for your husband, you want to live a long, healthy life, so you got to do something. And again, I didn't know what that change was going to be, but for myself, I'm very spiritual. And so one day my husband came home and he was like, hey, we was at the firehouse today and they were talking about being vegan and not eating meat. And I was like, and what, not eating meat? Who's not eating meat? He was like, yeah, they're not eating meat, and how the health benefits that it takes on your body when you stop eating meat. And he was like, hey, you need to watch Forks Over Knives. And I was like, Forks Over Knives? What is that all about? He was like, you just need to watch it. So I'm like, I was a little skeptical at first because I'm like, I know I needed to make a change in my health, but I'm like, giving up meat, I don't know if I can really give up meat. You talking about steaks and hamburgers and cheese and seafood. And listen, these were some of the most hardest things for me to give up when I decided to take this journey. But you know what? It was all about that willpower and determination. So I was like, hey, what the heck? Let me just watch it and see what it's all about. So I watched the documentary, and you can watch it on demand, Forks Over Knives. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. It's a really good documentary about how meat does our body and the different types of diseases that it brings about. Heart disease, high cholesterol, diabetes, things like that. So, I sat down and I watched it. But what really got my attention about it when I did watch it was the studies that it was doing on these different types of lab rats. And with these rats, they had about, I think it was about like 10 or 15 rats that they did this study on. And they divided them in half. And one half of the rats, they started giving them like all types of like vegetables and fruits and grains and things like that. And then the other type, they was giving them like meat, just meat products. And they were just very healthy. And those rats began to like really started to die off. Versus the ones that were eating the fruits and the grains and the vegetables, they were really healthy and they was living longer. So then they switched the study up, where they took those rats that was eating all the fruits, the vegetables, and the grains, they started giving them meat, and then they started giving the rats that they was giving the meat to, they started giving them all the fruits and vegetables and things like that. And those rats began to get healthy, and the other rats began to start dying off. Then it goes on to say like how other countries, like, they're not suffering from heart disease, diabetes, things that with inflammation, things like that. And I'm like, that's very interesting. So at the end of the documentary, I was like, I'm gonna stop eating meat. And I, like, literally, guys, I just really stopped, like, cold turkey. I stopped cold turkey, and it's been a journey from there. I didn't know what to eat. I didn't know what to prepare myself. All I knew was that I'm gonna try this being vegan and see how it turns out for me. And here we are, 8 years going on 9 years later. I'm still, practicing, being vegan, eating healthy, finding different ways to eat healthy, experimenting with different types of spices and foods and drinks. But again, it was a journey. So one of the first things that I did is I started to juice, because that was the most simplest thing for me to do, was juice. Because at that time I still didn't know what to prepare. You're talking about 8 years ago, being vegan, it was something that was talked about, but it really wasn't as prominent as it is now. You really couldn't find a whole lot of vegan options in the grocery stores and things like that. So it was a struggle in the beginning. It really was. So with the juicing, I didn't even know what to juice. So I was just like throwing like all these different types of fruits and vegetables into my juicer. And I'm talking about kale, spinach, celery, arugula, lemons, ginger, apples, celery, carrots, you name it, it was going in the juicer. So at first, it really didn't taste all that well, but I just stuck with it. And I did this for, months. I did it for months. And lo and behold, I started really seeing a change in my energy level. I woke up one morning and I wasn't as tired as I normally was. And the sad part about it is that I would wake up every morning and just feel so sluggish and tired every day. And I thought that was the norm. I thought that was how I was supposed to have felt, because I had been dealing with it for years. So when this morning, after I had been juicing for a while, I woke up and I had this burst of energy. I'm like, wow, like maybe this is, beneficial. Maybe this does work. And keep in mind, I told you that I was going through a lot of health issues within myself. And then I started noticing, it was a gradual change, but I started noticing that my menstrual cycle began to become regular. And I'm like, I've never had a normal menstrual cycle. When I tell you, from the time I started having a menstrual cycle, I never really had a normal menstrual cycle. I would go 3 months, 4 months at a time, sometimes even a year without my menstrual cycle coming on. And so to see a change where it started to regulate itself, I was like, wow, this is life-changing for me. And then I had an upcoming doctor's appointment where I went to see my gynecologist, and I've always had an abnormal pap smear. I didn't really think anything of it, although I should have, but I didn't. You're talking about being young, not really understanding what's occurring within your body. So I just thought it was just normal. So when I had a normal pap smear, I was like, what? Are you kidding me? And then for them to tell me that I no longer had those cancerous cells, that I had a clean bill of health, I was like, oh my goodness. So for me, that was life-changing. I knew that from that point on that this was not just a trend, not just something that I was just trying temporarily. I knew from that point on what this was going to be my way of life. I love the way it made me feel. I began to lose a tremendous amount of weight. At one point, I got down to like 145 pounds, like literally. So then at that point, I knew that, okay, well, let me just start incorporating other dishes into my, because I didn't want to, I knew I wanted to be small, but I didn't want to be that small. So I just started incorporating different types of meals into my diet based off of YouTube. YouTube, I went to the school of YouTube. So I started looking at what other vegans was eating and what dishes that they were trying, and how they mix their spices together, how they mix, like how they were making their own cheeses and meats and breads and things like that. And then I started learning about the different health factors that came along with those ingredients. So I never stopped juicing. I just kind of scaled it back of how much I was juicing, and I just kind of scaled it back on the amount of ingredients that I was putting in my juices to make them taste great but still have the same health benefits that it will bring me. So I started learning about what ginger does, what pineapple does, and how pineapples remove inflammation, how beets are good for your blood, how pomegranate is good for memory, how kale and spinach brings you that protein that you're missing. And my skin started to clear up. And my skin was like very, very, very bad. I had like dark spots in my face, and my skin tone was, uneven. Even at that, before I became these, even my hair was like starting to like just shed and fall out. And now I started seeing a difference in my hair. My hair wasn't shedding as much, it wasn't falling out. And then that natural curly texture of my hair really began to like come through. And I'm like, wow, I can't believe all this is from me just simply eating healthy and changing my diet and what I ate. So it made me become more self-conscious of what I was eating, what I was putting into my body. Now don't get me wrong, like I said, it was a struggle because some of my favorite foods was cheese, milks, dairies, eggs, seafood fanatic. When I tell you shrimp, lobster, if it's coming out of the sea, I'm gonna at least try it once. That's just how I was. And but as time went on, like those urges and those cravings for those foods began to die away, because I started learning how to replicate those meals, replicate those dishes, replicate how cheeses. And so I was able to make my own cheese and experiment with what I put into my cheese to make it taste great, to make it taste good. And now it's just like, I'm making dishes that I'm normally used to eating, but without the meat products inside of them, like mac and cheese and lasagna and grilled cheese sandwiches, potato salad, tuna melts, chicken melts, you name it, it can be turned into a vegan dish and still taste great. And I started learning those things and started researching those things and started experiment with seasonings and knowing like what seasonings were actually vegan, because not all seasonings are vegan, so it made me be, again, like more self-conscious, more aware of, what I was just taking inside of my body to make me feel good, to make me feel healthier. So with making all of these dishes, it kind of led me to my own show, which is Cooking Vegan with Kim. You guys can check me out on YouTube, and you'll learn. It's like a journey. You're on a journey, and I'm taking you step by step of what tastes great, what tastes good, but learning how to just really incorporate these different types of spices and cheeses into a delicious meal, into a delicious recipe. Because again, that was one of the hardest things for me to find out. What is it that, I need to eat, and what tastes great and what tastes good. And believe it or not all vegan cheeses taste great. Not all seasonings work well together. So, for me, learning how to do those things, what prompted me to create my own show. It's a show about healthy eating, how healthy foods does your body, learning what different fruits and vegetables work well with helping if you have cancer. But now, don't get me wrong, I'm not a doctor or anything like that, but I just know that what worked for me and my body, what healed my body eternally. So when you talk about using different types of gingers, how to work with ginger, how to work with carrots, how to work with broccoli, how to work with kale, how to work with different types of cheeses, how to work with different types of plant-based milks and things like that. It shows you, and what tastes great, it's going to take out all the guesswork for you, especially if you're thinking about transitioning of being vegan, but you just don't know what to buy, what to eat. That's what this show is all about, to educate you, to teach you on how to make very delicious meals where you're not craving cheese, or you're not craving milk, and you're not craving those meat products, or you're not craving meat or hamburgers and things like that. You're gonna learn how to make veggie burgers that taste great. You're gonna learn how, and especially if you don't have any allergic reactions to tree nuts, of how to work with different types of nuts in your cheeses, and how to create cheeses and sauces and creams and salad dressings and marinades that are delicious and healthy, that you'll be able to consume and just make some great dishes. And hopefully you'll learn enough where you can recreate these dishes for yourself. You know, what tastes good for you and your family, what works, so that you can have a better way of living a clean, healthy life. So make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you'll know when I'm dropping new content. You'll know when new content is coming out. And hey, join the family, Cooking Vegan with Kim. Like I said, today I'm in the studio, but next time you see me, we'll be back in Kim's kitchen, cooking up some of those delicious meals that we talked about on today, and showing you how to work with those different types of ingredients.